pull her in for a hug, and you feel it instantly. It's not a rejection, not exactly. It's a subtle stiffness in her spine, a hesitation in her arms as they barely wrap around you, resting lightly on your back with a polite pat. The moment that should feel like a bridge between two people suddenly feels like a wall of cold air. She pulls away a fraction of a second too soon, and the space she leaves behind is filled with a silent, unspoken question. You're left wondering why an act meant to create closeness so often magnifies the distance. This isn't because she feels nothing, it's because she feels times everything asterisk. She feels your intention, your anxiety, your unspoken need for reassurance. And her body, in its ancient wisdom, puts up a shield. It's a paradox that has confused men for generations, turning a simple gesture of affection into a moment of profound disconnection. If this feeling makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts below. You've felt this before, haven't you? The natural male instinct in that moment of perceived distance is to try harder. You think, maybe if I hold her a little tighter, a little longer, she will feel the depth of my affection. So you apply a bit more pressure, you linger for that extra beat, hoping to melt that wall of ice with the force of your embrace. But you feel the opposite happen. Her body becomes even more rigid, her breath catches, and the polite pat on your back becomes a signal of her urgent desire to escape. This is the lie you've been taught to believe, that affection is an action, a performance that can be intensified to achieve a better result. What you are communicating, however, is not strength, but neediness. Your arms are no longer a sanctuary, they've become a cage, and you are asking her, non-verbally, to validate your worth. Her reaction is not a conscious decision. It is a deeply instinctual response to a silent test. In the 3 seconds you hold her, her nervous system conducts a complete audit of your soul. It's not judging your technique or the strength of your arms. It is measuring your internal state. It's assessing your level of presence versus your level of performance. When a man hugs a woman with an agenda to feel loved, to be reassured, to get a sign of her desire, he is performing. He is asking a question with his body. Her system detects this subtle energetic demand and instinctively recoils to protect its own sovereignty. She doesn't want to be responsible for your emotional equilibrium. She wants to rest in yours. The stiffness you feel is her silent, honest answer. You are not a safe harbor right now. This is where most men lose the entire game without ever knowing it was being played. You interpret her physical distance as emotional rejection, and a spiral of self-doubt begins. You start analyzing your words, your actions, your looks, believing the problem is somewhere outside of you, but the truth is far more simple and profound. The problem is in the asking. A hug becomes a source of tension the moment it becomes a transaction. You are trying to times get times comfort, to times take times affection, to times extract times validation. You are focused on the outcome. This energy of seeking, of needing, is the very thing that dissolves attraction. A woman's desire grows not in the presence of a man who needs her, but in the presence of a man whose own inner world is so solid, so calm, that his touch offers a gift, not a request. He offers sanctuary. Your mind immediately translates her physical stiffness into a verdict. She is pulling away because she is losing interest. This is the first and most dangerous lie, the one your ego tells you to protect itself from the raw truth of the moment. You begin a frantic internal audit, replaying every conversation, every shared glance, searching for the mistake you must have made. You believe her body's reaction is a direct and final judgment on your worth, a clear sign that you are not enough. This belief shifts you from a state of presence into a state of desperate problem solving. You are no longer a man sharing a moment with a woman. You have become a defendant in a silent trial, and her affection is the acquittal you must now fight to secure. This is where your power begins to bleed away, not because she rejected you, but because you accepted a false narrative of your own failure. This flawed belief immediately dictates your next move. You conclude that if your last gesture failed to create closeness, it must have been because the gesture itself was insufficient. The logic is simple and brutal. You must try harder, you must perform better. So you begin to strategize. Perhaps you should have said something romantic just before the hug. Maybe you should send her a heartfelt text message later, explaining the depth of your feelings. Your mind, a machine built for solving external problems, starts treating her heart like a locked door for which you simply need to find the right key. You are consumed with the what, the action, the next performance. You fail to see that the issue was never the hug itself, but the needy, questioning energy you brought into it. Her spirit isn't responding to your actions, it's responding to the anxiety fueling them. This leads you down one of two well-worn paths of failure, two sides of the same counterfeit coin. The first is the path of the hesitant, platonic pat. This hug is born from a deep fear of rejection, a preemptive apology for your own masculinity. It communicates, I don't want to impose, please don't see me as a threat, please like me. It is a gesture of weakness, offering no container, no safety, no masculine frame for her to relax into. The second path is the needy, forceful squeeze. This hug is born from an intense fear of loss. It is a desperate physical plea that says, don't go. I need you to stay and reassure me that everything is okay. Both are questions disguised as affection, and both place the heavy burden of your emotional state directly onto her. Tell me if you recognize yourself walking down one of these two paths. Because you believe her distance is a problem you must solve, you begin to chase. This chase is the logical outcome of the lie you've swallowed. You increase the frequency of your texts, your calls, your attempts to see her. You think you are demonstrating your commitment, showing her how much you care, proving your value through sheer effort and persistence. But from her perspective, you are not demonstrating strength. You are radiating anxiety. Every unanswered text feels like a small crack in your foundation. Every moment she takes for herself feels like a direct withdrawal of her affection. Your pursuit is no longer about connection. It has become a campaign for validation. You are no longer a man she might desire, a calm harbor in her life. You have become an item on her to-do list, a source of pressure she now has to manage. This cycle traps you in a state of constant, low-grade panic. Your internal world, which should be your source of strength, becomes a chaotic feedback loop of her perceived reactions. You are perpetually monitoring her, analyzing her every word, her every emoji, searching for clues that your performance is finally working. Your own sense of well-being becomes completely outsourced, tethered to her approval. You have lost your center. This is the true definition of losing power. It's not about whether she stays or goes. It is the tragic loss of your own self-possession in the frantic effort to control her feelings. You sacrifice your own internal kingdom for the chance to be validated by hers, and in doing so, you give her the one thing she never wanted, the responsibility for your happiness. The ultimate illusion is believing that her desire is something you can manufacture through action. It is the deeply ingrained male belief that if you just find the right script, the perfect move, the most eloquent declaration, you can logically compel her heart to open. But a woman's attraction is not a mechanical lock to be picked. It is a living thing, a delicate ecosystem that responds not to effort, but to energy. You cannot force a rose to bloom by prying its petals apart. You will only destroy it. You can only provide the right conditions, the rich soil of your self-assurance, the warm sunlight of your non-demanding presence, and allow it to open in its own time. Your needy actions are not sunlight, they are a flood. You lose her not because you did the wrong thing, but because you were desperately trying to times do times anything at all. The hidden truth is this: her body does not lie. That subtle stiffness you feel is not a conscious thought or a deliberate rejection. It is the instantaneous, unfiltered verdict of her nervous system. In those 3 seconds you hold her, she is not evaluating your words or your past actions. Her body is conducting a profound, primal audit of your soul. It is reading the silent vibration of your internal state, the frequency of your confidence, or the static of your anxiety. Her physical response is a mirror, reflecting with perfect honesty whether your touch feels like a sanctuary or a cage. The tension in her shoulders is simply her body's answer to the unspoken question your energy is asking. It is not personal, it is biological. She is not pushing you away, her instincts are shielding her from your internal storm. This automatic response is rooted in a single fundamental need that governs all female attraction, the need for safety. But this is not the safety from physical harm, you might assume. It is a much deeper, more subtle form of security. It is emotional safety. Her nervous system is constantly asking one question of the men in her life: can I relax in your presence? Can I let down my shields, unclench my jaw, and surrender the weight of the world, knowing your frame is strong enough to hold it? When your hug communicates neediness or anxiety, it sends a clear signal that your frame is not solid. You are asking her to emotionally support you in that moment. Her body instinctively knows this, and its recoil is a protective measure. It is her non-verbal declaration that she cannot find rest in a man who is not at rest with himself. You see, she is not testing you consciously. She is not playing a game or trying to manipulate you. The test is ancient, wired into her very DNA. She is testing your masculine frame. A man's frame is the invisible container of his emotional and energetic presence. When it is strong, it is calm, unwavering, and non-reactive. It communicates that he is the source of his own validation. A needy hug, whether it's the weak, apologetic pat or the tight, desperate squeeze, signals a cracked or collapsing frame. It says, I need you to fix this. I need your affection to feel whole. Her body, designed to seek out stable structures, automatically pulls away from the man whose touch feels like a crumbling wall. Her stiffness is the sound of her spirit stepping back from an unsafe structure. This dynamic can be understood through a simple metaphor. You are the container, and she is the water. Her feminine energy is fluid, emotional, and powerful, but it longs to be held within a solid, defined shape. When your presence is grounded, your breathing is calm, and your touch is intentional without being demanding, you become that strong container. You are the unshakable shoreline. In that space, she can allow herself to be the water, to soften, to flow, to relax completely. But if your hug is filled with the frantic energy of needing a certain outcome, you are no longer the container. You have become the turbulent water yourself, crashing against her and asking her to be your shore. This inversion of roles is the very essence of what dissolves her attraction. She cannot surrender to a man who has already surrendered to his own anxiety. This is why your performance fails. The very act of trying to create the perfect hug is what makes it imperfect. When you are performing, your mind is in the future, calculating her potential reaction. You are not present. You are in your head, running a script, hoping for a positive review. A woman's intuition is a finely tuned instrument for detecting inauthenticity. She can feel the difference between a man who is genuinely present with her and a man who is executing a series of moves he hopes will please her. The first feels like a gift of his focused attention, a moment of true connection. The second feels like a transaction, a subtle pressure to respond in a certain way. Her body tenses up not because the hug is bad, but because the energy behind it feels hollow and strategic. And that intensity, you believe, demonstrates passion. She reads it as something else entirely. She experiences it as pressure. Your deep need to be reassured, to feel her melt into you, creates a heavy, energetic burden. Your arms, which should offer a release from the world's demands, become just another demand. True masculine strength is light. It is calm. It is marked by a profound sense of ease that comes from deep self-possession. It does not need to crush to prove its power. A woman is not repelled by your affection. She is repelled by the weight of your unmanaged emotions. You are, in that moment, asking her to carry your fear of loss for you, and her instinct is to refuse the load. She desires a man whose presence subtracts from her burdens, not one who adds to them. Ultimately, her attraction is not a response to what you do, but to who you are being in that moment. Her desire is a magnetic pull toward a man whose energy field is coherent, grounded, and whole. Your physical body is merely the conductor of this energy, and the hug is the most intimate and honest point of contact. If your inner world is a chaotic storm of need and fear, your touch will feel like static electricity, causing her to instinctively pull back. But if your inner world is a place of calm strength and quiet confidence, your touch will feel like a grounding force, a silent invitation to rest. You don't make her want you more by perfecting an action. You make her want you more by becoming the source of the peace her soul is searching for. Therefore, her physical distance is not a rejection, it is a diagnosis. It is a perfect, unbiased mirror reflecting your own internal state back to you. It is a gift of pure feedback, showing you exactly where your work lies. The goal is not to learn a new technique to get a different reaction from her. The goal is to do the internal work required to become a man who no longer needs a specific reaction. The moment you stop seeing her response as a verdict on your worth and start seeing it as a compass pointing toward your own growth, everything changes. You stop focusing on her and begin focusing on building your own internal kingdom. This is the path. This is the secret. Her body is simply showing you the door. So what does the centered man do? When he feels that wall of cold air, that subtle stiffness in her spine, he does not react. He does not tighten his grip in a desperate attempt to force a connection, nor does he recoil as if stung. He does something far more powerful. He breathes. He holds his ground, his frame firm but relaxed, and he simply notices the tension without judgment. He accepts the information her body is giving him not as a verdict on his worth, but as a simple statement of her present reality. In that moment of non-reaction, he communicates something profound, that his emotional stability is not dependent on her response. He is not a ship tossed on the waves of her feelings. He is the lighthouse, unwavering and present, and his calm becomes a silent invitation for her to find her own. This is the first crucial test, and he passes it by doing nothing at all. His next move is a masterpiece of quiet confidence. He holds the embrace for a solid, intentional beat, long enough to feel genuine, but short enough to feel scarce. Then he releases her. He does this smoothly, cleanly, and a fraction of a second before her own system is ready to pull away. This small act of releasing first is a powerful, non-verbal statement. It says, I was not taking anything from you. I was offering you a moment of my presence, and now that moment is over. He creates a small pocket of space between them, and in that space, a vacuum of curiosity is born. Her nervous system, which was braced for a needy, clinging energy, is met instead with self-contained strength. He has subverted her expectation, proving that his touch is a gift freely given, not a loan that requires immediate emotional repayment. Now, he masters the silence that follows. The average man would rush to fill this space with words, with nervous chatter, with a question seeking reassurance. He does not. He holds her gaze for a brief, warm second, a silent acknowledgement of the shared moment, and then he lets it go, turning his attention calmly to something else. He understands a deep truth. You do not attract by chasing, you attract by becoming still enough to be seen. His stillness is not a tactic, it is an embodiment. It communicates that his inner world is whole and complete, with or without her validation. As the Zen masters say, you cannot grasp water. The more you squeeze, the more it escapes. But if you form your hands into a cup, it will fill itself. His presence has become the cup, and her energy, her attention, now feels an instinctual pull to flow into it. Internally, his mind is not a chaotic courtroom putting his own actions on trial. He is not asking, what did I do wrong? He is asking, what is this moment showing me? He reframes her physical tension, not as rejection, but as information. Perhaps he had a difficult day. Perhaps he is guarded for reasons that have nothing to do with him. Or perhaps his own energy was slightly off. It doesn't matter. He has successfully decoupled his sense of self from her immediate emotional state. This is the very definition of a strong masculine frame. He is able to stand in the presence of her emotional weather, be it storm or sunshine, without getting swept away. This gives him a profound sense of freedom. He is no longer a performer seeking applause, but an observer learning the terrain. His subsequent actions flow from this state of inner calm. He doesn't bring up the hug or ask if something is wrong, which would only put her on the defensive. Instead, he might turn and continue a previous conversation, his voice maintaining its steady, warm tone. He might simply go back to what he was doing, radiating a sense of purpose that exists independently of her. What he is demonstrating is consistency. He is showing her that his presence is a safe harbor, that his emotional state is not conditional on her affection. His calm is not a temporary performance designed to win her over. It is his genuine state of being, and she is welcome to share in it. This unwavering consistency is what builds the deep, primal trust that her soul craves. It proves his frame is not just strong, but reliable. This is the ultimate inversion of the dynamic. The man who needs a specific reaction from a woman will forever be chasing her. But the man who is focused on cultivating his own internal state of peace and purpose becomes a source of that energy. He is no longer the hunter. He has become the mountain. He is solid, grounded, and his value is inherent, not granted by her approval. He has stopped trying to be attractive and has simply become attraction itself. His self-possession becomes the rare and beautiful thing her spirit has been searching for. The game changes completely. When you stop needing her to melt in your arms, she begins to feel an undeniable need to rest in your presence. You have stopped asking for sanctuary and have finally become one. And so you arrive at the final, quiet truth. You return to that first moment, the memory of her stiff embrace, but you see it now with new eyes. You understand that she pulls away not because she feels nothing, but because she feels times everything asterisk. She feels the silent tremor of your anxiety, the unspoken question in your touch, the subtle demand for reassurance that contaminates the gesture. Her body, in its ancient and brutal honesty, was never rejecting you. It was simply reflecting the storm it felt within you. Her physical distance was a perfect, unfiltered map of your own internal disconnection. It was a gift. She was showing you, without a single word, the precise location of the wound you needed to heal within yourself. Her body was not a wall you failed to break through. It was a mirror you were finally ready to look into. The entire battle was never with her. It was with the ghost of neediness inside your own soul. This realization is where the entire game ends, because you finally understand that the only way to win is to stop playing. You stop seeing her affection as a prize to be earned through clever performance or relentless effort. You stop treating her heart as a fortress to be conquered, and your own as the collateral damage. The desperate chase, the strategic texts, the perfectly timed compliments, it all falls away, revealed as the frantic dance of a man who has not yet found his own center. Her attraction was never the goal. It was always meant to be the consequence. The consequence of a man who has done the profound, silent work of building an inner world so solid, so peaceful, that he no longer needs anything from the world outside of him. She doesn't want your explanation. She wants your stability. She wants to feel the unshakable ground of your presence beneath her feet. Your focus shifts entirely. The question is no longer, how can I make her want me? It becomes, how can I build a state of being that is so grounded, so whole, that her desire is a natural and inevitable echo? You stop asking for affection with your arms and begin offering sanctuary with your presence. You become the man whose touch is not a question, but a statement. It says, for these few seconds, nothing is asked of you. You are completely safe here. This is the quiet power she has been searching for. It is the calm dominance of the mountain, which does not chase the clouds, but allows them to rest upon its peaks. Your embrace becomes the cup, not the grasp. And in that stillness, in that non-demanding strength, she finds the one thing her soul craves more than passion or romance, a place to finally, truly rest. The transformation is now complete. You came here to learn a few simple things to do when you hug a woman, and you leave having understood the one thing you must times be asterisk. It was never about her. It was about you. The path to her heart was always a journey back to your own. The ultimate power is not in decoding her behavior, but in mastering your own internal state to such a degree that her reactions no longer dictate your peace. You have stopped seeking a home in her and have finally built one within yourself. And from that place of profound self-possession, you can now offer a touch that heals rather than asks, a presence that calms rather than demands. The real work begins now, in the silent moments of your day. Comment what you now see in her that you couldn't before.